I now give the floor to Mr. Randy Credico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a speech that I wrote here, but I have some eye issues with stigmas and spots, so I'm going to have to do what I've done for 50 years as a public speaker, and that is kind of extemporize and make it shorter, and I can speak from the heart. And thank everybody on this distinguished council for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and my experience as it relates to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the escalation and the potential of more arms going into Ukraine from the U.S. government, which I strongly oppose. This morning I saw a lot of women in Kiev, mothers of conscripted Ukrainians on the street. I haven't seen this before, asking for demobilization. So that is picking up in Ukraine, and I think it's going to continue. So I do want to say that, first of all, before I introduce myself, that I feel very safe and secure in this body, inside this building. But once I've left this building, I will not feel so safe and secure. I will be in a state of panic, as I have been for 5 months, ever since my name was placed on this, the Ukrainian assassination list. There it is, Myrat Vorit's assassination list, which was added back in April after I returned to a trip to Donbass and to Moscow. I'm not the only person. I take it, by the way, I take it very seriously, this list. If you read the Washington Post this week, there's a story that documents 22 people on this list who have, as the list server says, been liquidated. There are a lot of people on this list: Ray McGovern, who spoke here, Roger Waters, who spoke here, and Faina Sarankova, who you may have seen a couple of weeks ago with a video. She's a 14-year-old that lives in Ludansk. And that poor woman came here and she spoke against the escalation because so many of her friends had been killed and disappeared where she lives. And she writes fairy tales, and she's 14 years old. And it's not just her. There are hundreds of individuals of her age or younger that are on this list. I mean, how low can you sink? I hope somebody is listening in Washington. You have the clout to put an end to this list. Okay, my name is Randy Credico, and people are probably wondering what gives him the right to be here. What kind of credentials does Randy Credico have? Well, I'll tell you who I am. I'm Randy Credico. I am, for many years, since I was 19, which is 50 years ago, a political satirist, a voice impressionist, a comedian. I did that. I appeared on a lot of television shows. I even appeared at the Smithsonian, a lot of nightclubs in Las Vegas and everywhere. I'm also a civil rights activist. For 15 years, I was the director of the prestigious William Moses Kunstler Fund for Racial Justice, where I received 2 awards, including actually 4 awards, 2 awards that I received from the heroic, saintly Madres de Plaza de Mayo de Argentina, Linea Fundadora. I am also the host of Live on the Fly on WBAI Radio and Progressive Radio Network. WBAI is part of the Pacific Network, and it reaches the entire tri-state community and area and all the way up to Kingston, New York. It's a unique station, WBAI. WBAI is a free speech radio station, been around for 60 years. It takes no money, absolutely no money from hedge funds, no money from corporations, and no money from the government. It's completely listener supported, which makes it unique. It gives us a lot of freedom at that station, a lot of latitude to speak the truth. Now, right now, I'm supposed to be, I have a show that started at 3 at WBAI to 5, but I'm not there, I'm here. However, they are broadcasting the show right now, simulcasting, not the show, but this proceeding all the way through. all the way through. They're going to run it for the next hour and a half, no matter how long it lasts. And you're going to hear not just me, but you're going to hear from the Ukrainian ambassador. You're going to hear from everybody here will be heard, because we do not engage in censorship at WBAI, which is a stark contrast to what you hear in the mainstream or see in the mainstream media. You see, for the last, since February 24, 2022, you've seen nothing but anti-Russian disinformation, anti-Russian distortions, Russophobia, and anti-Russian mass hatred through the lens of these corporate media outlets. And it's gotten so bad, this is how bad that it has gotten, the hysteria, is that recently a presentation of Shostakovich's Seventh Symphony, the Leningrad Symphony, was canceled at Lincoln Center. Can you imagine that? In New York City, they canceled it. Lincoln Center. Well, for the last year and a half, from February 24th, I decided this year, after a year of seeing the same stuff, the same Russophobia on television, and their slanted view. It was almost like they were echo chamber, the mainstream media, of the narrative being pumped out of Washington from the Pentagon and from the CIA and from the White House and State Department. So I decided that I was going to go and find out for myself what was going on. I went to the station manager and the program director, Linda, and said, can I go over there and report for WBAI and get my own view? Because there were no Western reporters in Donbass. I wanted to go to Donbass and find out what was going on. Nobody was there. They were all in Kiev. And she said, yeah, here you go. So I went. After 2 days, I'm not reading this. After 2 days, on my way to Russia, I spent 2 days in Dubai, at the UAE capital. It was a lovely experience there. Wonderful people and a beautiful city and very hospitable, and great food at a place called Gaul, where I ate. A place called Gaul, because I thought it was going to be my last meal. I really did. I said, it's going to be my last meal. I really thought I was going to die when I was over there, and I thought it was going to be my last good meal, because once in Russia, from all that I've heard in the mainstream media was gloom and doom, that the Russian economy was dead, there was going to be long bread lines, and there was going to be soup kitchens and all of that because of the economic sanctions imposed on them by the EU, the UK, and US. So I got there on April 2nd, and I stayed 5 days in Moscow. And while I was in Moscow, I did not see any signs whatsoever of economic decay. It was just the opposite. The stores, shelves were full. The streets, the cars. There were so many cars, so much traffic. It looked like the Long Island Expressway during rush hour. That's how crowded it was. The malls were full. The restaurants were full. The bars were 3 deep. So I said, all right, I don't see anything here, and so now I'm going to go to Donbass. So I hooked up with a couple of journalists, French journalists, and a Russian half journalist and translator, and we went on to Donbass. But before we went, I had to take a day of a crash course in first aid, and which was very scary, because the first thing they teach you is be careful when you get to Donbass. Be careful in Mariupol and in Donetsk. Be careful. Do not walk on the grass. Do not walk on the grass, because the grass was inundated with what are called petal mines and butterfly mines which are totally banned. And a lot of people, I had read about it prior to my visit, had been maimed. Children had been maimed. A 15-year-old kid had been killed. And so that was the first thing, the petal mines. And so that got into my head. Do not walk in the grass. Of course, I did walk into the grass when I got over there, because I'm so absent-minded. They also taught us how to put a tourniquet on if somebody lost a leg, and where to put the elbow and where to put the knee and not cut off the circulation. So this was a lot to absorb for me, an awful lot to absorb for me. And then they started talking about red zones and green zones and yellow zones and the difference and all of that. And I got to tell you something. I said, I'm not going. This is too much for me. I'm not going to go. But I told the guys, I'm going. Goodbye, guys. Let's say goodbye.
Excuse me, just
Yes.
a moment, if you might allow me to interrupt you. Council member has raised a point of order.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I believe we were asked to this meeting to talk about the inflow of Western weapons to Ukraine. I wonder if we could maybe focus on that rather than this anecdotal stuff. We appreciate the brief. We're a bit limited for time. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom. So if you could please, sir,
Okay.
continue and
All right.
move to your
So,
conclusions. Thank you.
All right. I will say that I went down to Donbass. I went a train to Rostov and then an armored vehicle to Donetsk in Mariupol. And when I arrived, and this is a point about the point of order here, the point about what I saw when I was down there. First day I was down there in Donetsk, the very first day, what did I see? A university that was shelled with a U.S. Lockheed Martin HIMARS missile. First day I was there, all right? And this happened all week. They hit it. This is their MO. They hit the university, and then EMS personnel show up to attend to the wounded and carry out the dead. And then 20 minutes later, the same place is shelled again to give it maximum damage to the people that were there helping. Now, that was the very first day. The second day I was there was a open air market, similar to what we have, same HIMARS missiles, hit an open air market, just like the one at Union Square down the street over here. That kind of market where women were putting out flowers for the upcoming Easter Sunday in the Russian Orthodox Church. They hit that, and then 20 minutes I was there, I reported on it. I saw the HIMARS missile slam there and slam in the back. I got there a couple hours later, but it was a civilian target that they hit with U.S. missiles, with HIMARS missiles. They did that. And I spoke to the women up front with their flowers, elderly women. A lot of people were killed. And I said, how do you do this? They were putting the flowers back together again. How on earth are you able to do this? And they said, this is our land. I am staying here. You can kill me. And everybody said the same thing. They don't care for us. They're hitting civilian targets to terrorize us and get us out of here, to take our land and take our resources. They don't care about us at all. And this happened the whole time I was there, including my way back to New York City on Easter Sunday. This happened on Easter Sunday, 5:30 in the morning. They did the same thing. Ukrainian forces, 8-9 kilometers away, they shelled a Russian Orthodox church, the biggest one there, at 5:30 in the morning, killing some early worshipers, and then later they did it again 30 minutes, 40 minutes later, and they killed more people. All right, so that's what we are doing with those HIMARS missiles. All right, that's one of the reasons why I stand up against it, against the acceleration, adding, what do you want, ATACMS to hit these areas? It's bad enough with these HIMARS missiles. They were targeting civilians, and that was it. And I was scared, and they stayed, and then I went to Mariupol. And down there, I saw all the damage done. It looked like Dresden, and I walked down Nicholas Street there, which was totally leveled, including a building that had been bombed by Azov fanatics or Azov militants. They bombed a 200-unit apartment building, and from there, I walked through the rubble, and I found this little spot there, this little oasis, this makeshift little cafe run by two teenage women there, one who I got to know by the name of Valerie. And Valerie had relatives that were killed and had friends that were killed during the liberation of Mariupol and prior by the Azov forces that were very brutal throughout that period of time. But they were staying, they are rebuilding, they're not going anywhere. They are not going anywhere. They ended up being at the Azov stall there at the very end, these Azov battalion troops firing missiles willy-nilly into civilian populated areas. Got me going here. Driving there, by the way, I must tell you, driving to Mariupol on both sides, driving 90 miles an hour with this Russian driver in this armored vehicle. It was an armored vehicle. And on both sides, there were these pedal mines. On both sides, they hadn't been defused yet, but they were all over the place. They are definitely targeting civilians in Donbass, and that's what I saw. I saw a lot more while I was there. And then I saw the other day I'm watching President Biden on television, ostensibly there to talk about the attacks in Israel and the genocide that followed, that's taken place in Gaza. That's why he supposedly was there. But he only spent about 30 seconds talking about that and used it as a vehicle to talk about hustling the American people into shelling out more money to send more weapons to Ukraine so they can kill more civilians like what they have done in Donetsk and Mariupol. Use that. He used that, and it was going to create jobs. Well, what kind of jobs, Mr. President, are we creating here with the money you're asking us to give to you? What kind of jobs are they? We're going to create a lot of jobs there. Well, what kind of jobs? What kind of products are they? Oh, yeah, the toasters? How does it benefit us? Do we have incubators? Do we have sneakers? Do we have Coleman stoves? Carrier air conditioners? Television sets? There's no product that benefits the American people there, Mr. President. And I said, how could he use this? Exploit the tragedy in Gaza to hustle for more weapons for Ukraine.
Mr. Credico, sorry to interrupt you. According to my watch, you've been speaking for about 17 minutes.
Oh, I should be. Why? I'm sorry.
So I would kindly ask you to conclude your intervention in 1 minute, please.
Okay, I will.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, at any rate, I strongly urge that this come to an end. Stop the March of Folly before the March of Folly ends us. And let me just close with the words by the president of Brazil, President Lula, who said just the other day at the Belt and Road Initiative, he said, look, the U.S. has got to stop promoting war and start talking peace. And he's right, and most of the world agrees with that. And the only way to do that is to end arms shipments to Ukraine.
Thank you very much for your briefing. I now give the floor to those council members